So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you guys are. Guys, as you guys are aware, smash the like button on this video, hit the subscribe button, share the video, and all that good stuff. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I want to get straight into this. Gennady Golovkin. You know, we all know that Gennady Golovkin and Canelo have their history. But I'm really looking forward to this trilogy, and I've always felt Gennady's felt a certain way about Canelo. And Gennady Golovkin, in a boxing scene article, has actually come out and said this, which a lot of Canelo fans aren't going to like. He says, Canelo achieved a lot, but there are questions on how he did that, what he used. You know, and let's go into this article. This was published 6 hours ago. He says, I'm not the kind of person who's going to belittle any athlete's achievements, and Canelo's achieved a lot. But there are some other questions about how he did that and what he used. I did not say something just because I just came up with it. There are lab results. The doctor said that were the results of water testing, and when asked, I said, yes, I believe that he cheated. And if somebody in the team didn't like my words, I believe it's their problem. Wow. So Gennady Golovkin is openly saying here that he felt Canelo cheated. You know, there's been a lot of people that have debunked this and said, no, there was a test and blah-de-blah-de-blah. And Golovkin also said, I remember near the time that he saw, after the event, that he saw injection marks on Canelo Alvarez's body. Again, I don't know. I didn't really see anything. I haven't seen anything in terms of, did I see any injection marks? I don't know what an injection mark looks like, to be brutally honest. We don't know, and I never knew people injecting their body. I didn't know, I don't know where generally do people inject in their stomach or in their body. I don't know. I thought they would, normally people that I've heard inject in their buttocks, but I don't know. I don't really know much about this. Well, I know stuff. I know about this because I've studied it slightly. A lot of my study was commercial, you know, the commercial side of sports, but I don't know too much about, you know, PEDs and stuff. I know enough to talk about it, but again, like I said, Golovkin said he felt he cheated. Now, whenever someone moves up weight classes like Canelo has done, there's always a question mark. There's always people questioning the legitimacy of the move up, especially Canelo Alvarez has gone up weight classes and battered guys. But you've also got to look at the fact that when Canelo Alvarez has moved up and fought at weight classes, the level of competition, you know, wasn't that great. You know, even Roy Jones, when people say he moved up to heavyweight, yeah, he moved up and he fought names, but again, the level of competition wasn't that great. It's not like he was going up and fighting killers, you know, and same with Canelo, even though Roy Jones got caught as well, you know, and again, whenever someone moves up so many weight classes, there's definitely going to be a question mark. There was a question mark around Manny Pacquiao, you know, and I think with Manny, with Manny, I think it was the case that Manny was actually fighting elite fighters and bashing them up. So people were questioning it, even though Manny Pacquiao never ever failed a drugs test. Like you could say Canelo and Roy Jones failed a drugs test. But whereas Manny never ever failed a drugs test, and people were accusing him because of how great he was. They were just accusing because he was moving up weight classes and beating bigger guys up and literally battering them. Canelo Alvarez has moved up to 168, and we've also seen Canelo get beat by Bivol now. So Canelo's always looked more beatable. Pacquiao was a monster. Pacquiao, and so was Roy Jones, by the way. Roy Jones was a monster. I don't think Canelo moving up weight looked anywhere near what those guys looked in their prime. Like Canelo didn't look anything like Pacquiao. He didn't look anything like Roy Jones. But again, when you failed a drugs test, which Canelo has, there's going to be question marks about the legitimacy of you moving up that many weight classes. nowadays moving up 4 weight classes isn't seen like Canelo started. I mean, he started off at 147, but I think Canelo's really title reign was up from 154. 154, 160, 168, 175. 175 again, he fought a faded Kovalev. But I mean, really, I look at him as a champion in 3 weight classes where I feel like he did good work in 3 weight classes. 175, he fought a Kovalev, and then, you know, he won a title there. But he's not really stayed there and marked his claim as the best in that division. He actually fought a young guy in his prime, and he was soundly beaten by that guy. So really, I look at Canelo as like a 3-weight world champion, but he's obviously got a belt in the 4th weight class against Kovalev. But I don't think he's established himself at 175. And I think when he fought Bivol, we saw what happened there. So, you know, it's not like Canelo's gone and gone to 175 and stayed there and dominated there like he did at 168, where he beat all the champions. And I don't think the champions there, like people saying, well, Canelo was knocking these guys out, and they weren't that great. Like Billy Joe, Caleb Plant, you know, Callum Smith. Canelo's expected, doesn't matter how big, I mean, those guys are compared to him, Canelo's expected to beat those guys, irrespective of the size difference. Because the skill gap and the experience that Canelo had over those guys was superior. It's a bit like Usyk and Joshua. Forget the size difference. It's not going to matter when the level of ability is so far, like Usyk's level of ability is up here, Joshua's level of ability is down here, right? The size difference of Joshua is probably here, and the size, they're about that much. But the ability supersedes that. You know, it negates what the size that Joshua has. And the same with Canelo fighting at super middleweight with a lot of those guys. Those guys aren't, I mean, ability-wise, Canelo's better, and he's got a lot more experience. A lot of those guys are green, not really tested against proven fighters. So Canelo was going to beat them. But when he came up against somebody that was better, I mean, ability level was a lot higher, and then the size played a big part, you know, and Bivol was able to beat him, you know. So Canelo's never looked, like when I look at Canelo, he's never looked like a guy that, you know, I would suspect that's on the juice, just because he never looked invincible like that. He's always looked beatable. You know, people made him out to be invincible, and even I've got into that bandwagon, but that was probably because of the competition was nowhere near like a Bivol type. You know, let's be brutally honest. He hasn't really fought anybody like Bivol. When you look at Canelo's resume and look at the guys that, you know, he's fought that were really good, they gave him difficult fights. Lara gave him a difficult fight. Golovkin gave him a difficult fight. Both times Golovkin gave him a difficult fight. So Canelo's, when he's come up against the real elite fighters, he's not had it easy. You know, it's a difference when Manny and, for example, Manny was just bashing guys, you know. He was bashing elite fighters, man. Like Miguel Cotto just destroyed him, you know. And whereas Canelo, whenever he's come up against a stiff opposition, he's always had it hard. He's never had it easy. He's never walked through them, you know. Even, you know, like I said, Lara, Golovkin, even Jacobs wasn't an easy fight. You know, so Canelo's had a lot of tough fights. So when people question Canelo's not had it easy. He's been in there with some really good fighters. It's just that the super middleweight division, when he went through that, those guys weren't on his level, so he destroyed them. Simple as that, you know. And don't get me wrong, they were good wins for Canelo. They were still decent fighters, and the way he bashed them up was still great. But those guys weren't on his level. They were good fighters, not like he was cherry picking or anything. They were good fighters. I believe he would do the same to Charlo and those guys and Benavidez and Andre, because I don't think those guys are great. I think they're okay. I think they're decent. I don't think they're great fighters. I don't look at them and go, wow, these guys are spectacular. I look at them, they're okay fighters. And same with Billy Joe, same with Callum Smith. There's nothing spectacular. But when he came up against Bivol, who was much bigger, who was also very highly skilled, we clearly saw what happened. So, again, Canelo gets a lot of criticism, but he's always tested himself against the best. He's always gone in there against the best. And when you go in there against the best and you test yourself continuously, you will eventually get beat, especially if you're fighting bigger men who are very highly skilled. You're not going to beat bigger guys, you know, or just as skilled, if not more skilled than you are. You're going to get beat, man. So, yeah, I think you've got to respect Canelo. I think these question marks, anyone that's failed a drugs test, no matter who you are, is going to have those question marks. It doesn't matter whether they've proved themselves innocent. You're going to have those question marks for the rest of your career, and it's going to be attached to your legacy. But the fact of the matter is, I think Canelo Alvarez has what he's achieved is phenomenal, because when he fought Floyd Mayweather and he got beaten the way he did, I didn't think Canelo would be where he's at today. So I think Canelo's done really well for himself, and I think Canelo has achieved a lot, to be honest with you. So yeah, I can see where Golovkin's coming from, because Golovkin's coming by. Oh, there's a siren going by. Golovkin's coming from a place where he feels hard done by. You know, I can feel Golovkin's frustration, because if you go in the ring and you feel like this guy was on something, right, and he fought you with something in his body and in something enhanced in his body, right, you're gonna feel aggrieved about that. You're gonna feel like this guy tried to hurt me. This guy tried to go in there enhanced. You know, and that's how Golovkin probably feels. So Golovkin feels that, you know, I'm not having it, you know, and he also feels that he's been robbed. He feels that his legacy has been hurt because of Canelo and, you know, the judges, etc., whatever, you know, so he's a bit bitter, you know, so that's why he's coming out with these statements. But I wouldn't be surprised. Anyone else would as well. Anyone else would, because if Golovkin had got the decision against Canelo, today Golovkin may be in the position that Canelo's in. Maybe that would have been a launch pad for Golovkin and not Canelo. But Canelo was the one that got the launch pad, and he became an even bigger star. You know, because if he had lost to Golovkin, Canelo might have not been where he is today. By beating Golovkin, that was a launch pad, because that was a super fight at the time. So Canelo benefited from that. So fair play. Let's see. Let's see what happens in September. Let's see if Golovkin could come in and pull off the upset, or is Canelo going to walk through him? I'm very interested now in this fight, because there's a lot riding on it. There's a lot riding on it, especially for Canelo. Legacy, his career. He's in a very difficult spot. He loses to Golovkin, he's finished, in my opinion. I don't know where he goes from there. You know, where does he go? You know, this is what I mean. You go back a couple of months prior to the Bivol fight, Canelo was on top of the world. He's now, and this is the nature of sport. He's now fighting for his career effectively, because if he loses to Golovkin, where does Canelo go from here? Where does he go? So he's effectively fighting for his legacy right now. So this is a very, very important fight for him. And let's see if he can get the job done. But what do you guys think about what Golovkin's saying? Canelo's achieved a lot, but he questions on how he did it, what he used. Leave your thoughts. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.